Super excited to have y'all here. I know time zones aren't great for some of you, so I apologize for that. So I know it might be late nights, but really, really glad that you came out here. Um, One thing is, you don't have to do it immediately, but if you can, share your webcam. And then definitely when you're in the groups, we'll talk about that in a bit, but actually one of the biggest values of Codepath is just us organizing you and to create little study groups for you. So we've tried to organize you by your language of preference. We've tried to organize you by your geography, where you are. We've tried to organize you by your level of calibration as best we could. It's tough because the HackerRank was kind of beginner level, so it wasn't like it's not like we have your number or anything, certainly not. And so once you're in your breakout rooms, definitely share your webcams. This is going to be your crew. This is going to be the one taking you through your summer. So hopefully you can start to lean into that. It's going to be the same faces each time. Each of you will have a mentor in the room as well. So they will be a professional engineer, more likely than not. Maybe there'll be a student, but mostly professional engineers. And so that's going to be your crew for the next 12 weeks. So we're going to go to the moon together. So let's see here, 180 people here. Okay. Yeah, so even though this is a large group, this is actually going to be a very intimate experience. Even though this is a large group, you'll mostly be working in your teams of 6. Even though this is a large group, you'll always have access to us. So you can always feel like you can ping me on Slack, you can ping any of the instructors on Slack, you can ping our CEO. So even though this is a large classroom, we actually are going to be very, very involved with each one of you. So I actually hope that each one of you makes it through the entire track. And we're really eager. One of the biggest things about Codepath is we're not a singular class. We want to have a relationship with you throughout your college career and afterwards. We've been around for 7 years. We've gotten to see really amazing students grow up. We're still in touch with them. Many of them are, in fact, who your mentors are today. And so I love seeing kind of all of you all here, and really, really look forward to kind of getting to know you, not only through this course, but over the next few years. So, well, once again, once you get into that session, remember to turn on your webcams, and then I'm just going to mute you all too. So just because it's going to be challenging with so many people here. Okay. So let's see here. I'm not sure if anyone's intentionally trying to talk. I'm gonna be a jerk. I'm actually going to make it so that you cannot unmute yourselves, just because it's gonna derail me a little bit. So I've temporarily disallowed unmuting yourself. Yes, everything will be shared with you later. Okay, so throw thoughts in the chat if you have questions. I'll kind of collect them as I go. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves if you're bored of me talking. So today in this session, I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction to myself, to Codepath, and then I'm going to talk about how this crazy 12-week program works, why it's going to work with you. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what the problem-solving process is that we're going to use. So we're going to teach you this thing called UMPIRE. That's going to be the secret handbook to actually solving these kind of intimidating problems. I'll walk through one of the problems with you, and then today's going to be kind of a chill day. It's going to be a social day. So I'm going to talk. We're going to do stuff for maybe 30 minutes together, 35 minutes together. So I don't want to bore you. And then we're going to throw you in your groups. And then all I ask for the groups is, yeah, really have fun and see if you can lean into it. This is your buddy for the next 12 weeks. So first, I'll introduce myself a little bit. So, I remember being in your shoes. Feels like yesterday. It was 15 years ago that I came out here to California from Texas. And I think I want to share with you something that I did not know when I was in your position. So I think many of you are studying a computing degree of some kind, or at least you're considering it. And so something that I didn't know, even frankly, until I was about 24, I didn't know this, is when I was in your position, I really didn't understand the wide and humongous landscape of tech. So I'm curious, jump in the chat. If you could, open up that chat window and say, how many roles do you know in tech? How many roles do you know in engineering? What are all the positions that you all know? What is and in tech broadly? I'm just curious. Career awareness. Victoria knows a ton. Software engineering. That was me, by the way. Software engineering. I was kind of like software or no software. I see a few other words. So some of you seems like have a broader exposure. Some of you are naming kind of like several roles here. You know, and by the way, if you are aware of these roles, are you getting a sense for which ones might be a good fit for you? You know, match you both personality wise as well as career wise. It's early. I mean, like I said, I didn't know for quite a long time. So I will say for one of you, any of you who is thinking about tech one way or the other, I will say tech is infinite. What do I mean by that? There is an infinite variety in terms of the challenge and the nature of the challenges. It could be very technical, it could be very deep, it could be very people oriented, it could be very product oriented, it could be a lot about design, it can be, and shipping a game app is very, very different from shipping an enterprise app, is very different from shipping a consumer app. I was in application development for a long time. I was in service engineering, I was in sales engineering. And so really one thing that's interesting is that don't narrow too quickly, because there are, whatever your interests are, I wouldn't edit yourself out of tech either, because it's so vast that there's a perfect fit for you here. I'm gonna distill it to three things that are very simple. So as I was navigating my career, I had you'll fall down three tracks. One is you'll fall down an expert track. And so this will be, you're going to be a data scientist or a front end web developer or whatever it is, right? You start to develop deep expertise into it. And those tracks are generally themselves quite deep. So they're quite infinite. And you can spend the rest of your career in that track. It's very rewarding. If you like the craft of engineering, it's very fun to go down that track. Sooner or later, they'll try to drag you into the management track. And there's a lot of pros and cons. You think that management is a natural transition. So one thing you'll find about the management track is that it is completely different. Your day will be all meetings. And you're thinking to yourself, how do you have 40 hours of meetings? Trust me, you have 40 hours of meetings in this most painful and grueling experience on the face of the planet. But engineering management makes a ton more money. That expert that I was talking about, very fulfilled, but when that IPO happens or whatever happens, their yearly bonus comes around, they can go and they can buy a car maybe if an IPO happens, which is nice. Managers get to buy a house. So much more financially lucrative in general, but half of you as engineers will hate it. So I went down the expert track for a while, and then I found that I didn't like that track. Then I went down the management track for a while, and I found I didn't like that track. And so I picked the third track, which is also an awesome opportunity I'd love to talk to you more about, is the entrepreneurship track. And that is really interesting because that's where you can start to tie engineering with some of these other soft skills, how to go to market with something, product design, team building, business, and link it all together. And it's a very exciting time because any of you all can be entrepreneurs as well, right? There's a digital version of Shark Tank, right? You don't need to make shoes because you're trained as engineers. So you can go to market with a digital product. So that's a really exciting track. So anyway, that little detour into who I was. I took that journey. I landed at Codepath. So this Codepath is my kind of third company that I've started. I've been starting companies for the last 11 years. This is my spot. I've been working on it for years. I'm going to be working on it for decades to come. It's a big problem, very exciting. The mission of Codepath is we want to show you the truth of how to get into tech. We want to tell you what matters. We want to show you the ropes as much as we can. We would love the privilege of being your mentor and your guide from whatever level you're at now to whatever success goal that you would like it to be. So Codepath, we kind of partner with colleges and we try to teach you more practical things in general. And so we kind of, what we're here today, right? This is not just one of your many other classes that you take in your college classes. Actually, sorry, I want to interrupt myself. I think I see a note from our CEO here. Our CEO's popped in and he wants to just say hello. So Michael, do you want to share your, I'm going to stop my screen so that, I think I saw Michael. Oh, yeah, probably didn't let you unmute yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and so Michael, sorry, try to unmute yourself again. Okay. Or sorry, was this, maybe it wasn't Michael, it was someone's called Codepath here, saying I'm here, but maybe it's operations person. Okay. False alarm. Okay, Michael's going to be here in a minute. All right, okay. So, sorry, share screen. All right. Delete the last 2 minutes from your brain. This interview prep is not just another one of your classes, because you have a lot of classes right now. Maybe you're taking, I don't know, biology, math, chemistry, programming of various types. In tech, here's the first secret that we're going to teach you about tech. There's only 2 ways to get a tech job. 1, you can learn a domain skill, or 2, you can practice the algorithm interview. That's it. So any other kind of class that you're taking right now, it's great, enjoy it, it's for learning. It's, if you like it, you like it, that's fantastic. However, when it comes to how do I actually get that internship and how do I actually get that full-time job, there is these 2 ways. You can kind of get good at web or mobile or some kind of trade skill, and then you can get into a company that way. It's a great time for that, right? Companies these days, can you believe it or not, they no longer ask for GPAs. So sorry for you academic overachievers, they just don't care anymore. Okay, sorry, now Michael's in. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find and unmute Michael. Okay, Michael, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Here. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yes, please. The floor is yours.
Great. Okay. Hey, everyone. So I'll keep this brief because I don't want to interrupt Tim. He's a much better speaker than I am, but wanted to say just a couple words. And for those that don't know, I'm the CEO and founder of Codepath. And my background, many of you can probably relate in that grew up low income, rural Maine, single mother household. And at points in time, my family was actually homeless when we were growing up. So despite a lot of those challenges with my environment, I was fortunate to, at various points in time, meet great mentors, have great teachers. And ultimately, in addition to Codepath, I ended up founding 5 additional companies, one of which was a Y Combinator startup that founded back in 2011. It's now one of their most valuable portfolio companies at around 1.5 billion. So I share that because I think with Codepath, what we're all about is trying to make sure that it doesn't depend on meeting the right person at the right time. It doesn't depend on luck in order to find pathways to opportunity. And as Tim has mentioned, we run courses like this one. We run additional courses year round. But our goal isn't just for you to be able to get a tech job or internship. Our goal is for you to be leaders in the industry so that you can be leading technology teams, so that you can be starting your own startups, so that, and I think especially in the current environment, you're able to rise to positions of power. And when you're able to rise to a position of power, it means that instead of maybe being someone who's thinking about how do I maybe predict the future, or how can I be someone who ends up creating the future that you want to live in. So one last phrase that I'll leave you with is that I encourage you to learn as much as you can. I encourage you to build, practice what you're building, but then I encourage you to think about how you can change the world with the skills that you're developing.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Sorry. Remember how I disallowed the permission to unmute? I couldn't unmute myself. So awesome. I can clearly master technology and use it well. So, all right, thanks, Mike. So Michael is, sorry, Michael, he's on Slack and he has email. And so at any point, he's actually super accessible. And so ping him on Michael on Slack or michael@codepath.org. Anytime, right, Mike? So, okay, so to continue on. Okay, where I was share screen. I was trying to convince you that this class and broadly speaking, interview prep is something that is very important for you to focus on. So you can go the tech track. That's great. That's actually very smart to do. You should do both, to be honest. But this interview prep thing is a very specific skill, and it's something that we're going to teach you about. So mastering the algorithm interview in tech is like it's like a secret key. If you can do this, any one of you can get a job at Google. I swear to you. I've done this for hundreds of students, right? Now, I don't know if you're ready to do the work required to get to the Google tier, because it's a lot of work, but it's something within all of your abilities. So wherever you end up in that range though, like let's say that I want to do half of the work at Google, you'll still land with 5 to 10 job offers just based off mastering this particular skill. That's just where tech is going right now. It's very competencies based, and they use this particular thing as the metric. So what I want to share with you is, how exactly this structure works, and what our goal for you is during this summer. So this thing, let's see, how do I say this? Like, hey, anyone here watch those like inspo transformation videos? I love those videos. What's that Silicon Valley guy's name? Kumail. You see it? You see Kumail's photo for the Eternals, right? You always see these like celebrities transforming themselves from nothing to whatever. So interview prep is exactly like that. The thing that really inspires me about those videos is a couple of things. One, it's amazing to see the transformation. Two, it only takes like 6 months. 6 months of insane behavior, working out 4 times a day and eating ridiculous things. But it's within everybody's abilities. Would you agree? Like any of you, if you did the Kumail plan, could get that thing, right? So interview prep is very, very similar. So it's something that all of you can do. I've trained so many people on this skill set. So one thing is that, I don't know if you feel this way, but if you look around and sometimes you see, well, I'm not smart as whoever is good at it. And so, clearly they just kind of know and are just skilled at this, right? So yeah, some of you, are gonna take more naturally to this, but nothing, well, even for them, they still require the practice, and nothing can kind of trump the level of practice. So the goal of Codepath is to help you master the skill, and the most effective way to do that, it's not about like any particular one problem that we're going to teach you. The purpose of Codepath is to help you establish this as a habit. Because you have a goal, right? You have a goal, you want to score a sweet internship. I don't know, maybe you want to work at Google. I don't know, maybe you hate Google. But let's say that you cared about that, and let's say that you want to go to Microsoft or Amazon or whatever. And so let's say you have a goal, and so how do you achieve a goal? Well, you take actions, right? You take actions to achieve a goal. I need to practice these problems. But if you're anything like me, you can't just take the action, because you're going to get bored of it. You're here today, but you might get bored of it tomorrow, or next week you'll fizzle out. And so the secret to achieving your goal is to take that action and wrap it in habit, wrap it in ritual. What do you all do every morning? Wake up, check your phone, wake up, maybe go over and, I don't know if you'd be making coffee, but maybe you log onto your computer and do whatever. And so the power of ritual is that it will help carry your action consistently over the next year. So with Codepath, we're doing this crazy thing where we're going to be so annoying to you. What we'd like to do is we would like to bug you every week to do your HackerRank submissions. And we're going to bug you every week if you're not showing up to class, really, really obnoxiously. So the goal is that we want to help you build momentum in this habit, so that by 3 weeks, you're not afraid of this topic anymore, and you've somehow managed to figure out where to fit it in your lives so that you can continue to do this. 30 minutes, 3 times a week, whatever it is, right? It actually doesn't have to be insane. It's not too ridiculous. Where will you be by the end of the summer? Are you going to be interview ready by the end of the summer? Probably not. Another thing that's important about this extremely important investment is to recognize how much time and effort it will take. I'm not just saying that any of you can get to Google just like right now based on some casual work this summer, right? So you have to be realistic about the level of work. If you finish this class, where will you finish? You'll finish in a position to be really successful in our intermediate level class coming up next. What will happen at the end of the intermediate level class? You will, I guarantee you, have over 5 job offers. It's happened, 3 summers in a row now, right? The intermediate class crushes it. The advanced class double crushes it, right? But actually the intermediate level is all you need to get to if you just want like regular employment. So a lot of you have not yet taken data structures and algorithms. Some of you have. But I would say the majority of you have not taken algorithms yet. And so that's a prerequisite piece of knowledge that you need to do to take the intermediate class. So this class is about getting you warmed up though. If you finish this class, I guarantee you'll finish at the top of the intermediate class. This will have a lot of the core skills and muscles and preps. These are like the 10-pound weights, to build up to the 20-pound weights. I should recalibrate my weights. I'm just showing you how weak I am. But this is the escalation to get to that point. Okay, so during this class, you're going to have your pod. So you'll have people matched with you in your breakout rooms. These will be the same group of people that you're going to see each week. We're going to bring in and give you access to all kinds of experts. There'll be one engineer in your room that's an engineer. We're going to bring in panelists to run cool panels. We're going to give you access to weekly practice. So I am going to show you the playbook for what exactly this practice and prep is. So in terms of tools, we have the course portal here. So this course portal will be your home for the next 12 weeks. Session 1 is today, Tuesday. Session 2 is Saturday. Shoot, sorry. And then assignment every week, you're going to click on this problem sandbox and you're going to complete and submit those questions. Every week, you can watch these overview. I know it looks like a lot of videos. These are short videos. I think it might add up to be an hour or something. And so you can kind of consume these, watch these, do the 2 sessions a week, and do the assignment. And that's how you succeed in the class. We're going to be chasing you down if you don't submit the assignment. And I want to tell you again, us chasing you down, I want to reestablish one more time. This is our attempt to be a good coach to you, to be kind of a nag for you, to help you establish that habit. If that is not working for you right now, I'm not going to address what's going on right now because I don't want to, bring anyone down. We support, of course, Black Lives Matter and all of the important conversations being had right now. If this is not the right time for you to be coached in this way, let us know. Whether you need a week or two just to catch your breath, or whether, frankly, you just want to follow along self-paced and you don't want that coaching experience, just let us know, right? So just know that we're chasing you down. We are going to be kind of saying, hey, why didn't you show up? Or hey, why don't you show us the hacker rank? Because we're trying to help you establish that habit. And if that's not what you want, just let us know. So we'll either back off for a couple weeks, or we'll just move you to the observer track where it's the same experience, same stuff. You just won't hear from us. We won't bug you. We won't bother you. The only reason that I don't do that for the rest of you is because the observer track rarely is able to keep up pace. So this is a hard thing, right? And so that's the only reason that we implemented this strategy, is because every other strategy, frankly, was failing. So this is the one that worked, was us being crazy, crazy strict. Okay, but given that, right? Let's get into the next part. So course portal, this is where you live. Discussion system, this is where you can ask questions. Replit, I'll show you in a minute. Replit is where we're going to practice a lot of questions. This is how companies will typically interview you. They don't usually use Replit, but they use Codepath, which is almost identical. Basically, this is when they get you on the phone, you're gonna have this blank pad and you're supposed to write in code here, right? So you want to get comfortable with that. So this is the practice platform here. Zoom, of course, we're already using. HackerRank is where you've already taken one. Each week, you're going to be taking that ending HackerRank. And then finally, I want to show you one more, which is LeetCode. LeetCode is something that I want to introduce you to. So that's a set of tools and places where your content lives that you'll be in this summer. So I want to talk to you about next. Okay, so I'm actually going to take a breather. I'm actually going to look at some of these questions. So yeah, feel free to toss in more questions. You can work in whatever language you want, although we really strongly support Python and Java the best. And C++ is coming soon. Those of you who did do the HackerRank in C++, we did group you together, by the way. So there is that. We just have kind of poor support for it, sorry. We're working on it. Sample problem for the assignment. Cool. So for some of these questions, I'll answer later. I'm assuming that most of you have not done a technical interview yet. Is that fair to say? Is anyone who has never done a technical interview? Okay, lots of people who have never done one. Maybe some of you have, and that's great. Jesus, one of our mentors, has done 1 billion. By the way, at 6:30 is when the mentors are supposed to show up. So here is the difference between your programming class and your algorithms class in school and the interview process. They're vaguely related, right? But they're a little bit different. So we're going to teach you how to solve problems using this methodology called UMPIRE. And I'm going to walk through it through the class. We're going to come to this every week. The one that you are probably the most familiar with is implement. I give you the problem and you solve the code. So by the way, 4 years ago, we did not have this class. And we just put our students in front of the companies and we said, give them a chance. We gave them the access, right? We gave them access. They tanked the interviews 100% of the time. We sent in like 40 students to all kinds of companies, and we had like a 0% hire rate. So we're like, oh, what's going on here? So we realized we did have to provide training as well. So last 2 summers have been extremely successful because we trained using UMPIRE and we gave the access. Everyone in intermediate class and above gets guaranteed tech interviews. And 100% of them generally get, well, they get the interviews, and a ton of them get offers based off of that. You need to master this technique though. So it's not just implement, which is writing the code. So let's dig in with a real example, right? So the first example is this problem: determine if a non-negative number n is a power of 3. Determine, I'll let that soak in for a little bit. Determine if a non-negative number n is a power of 3. First of all, I apologize, this is a math question. That's the opposite takeaway that I want you to have in tech. If you ask Jesus or anybody, any of the mentors on the line, math skills has 0 correlation with tech. Math is its own kind of thing. But for these problems, sometimes some of the bank of the questions this level for the first few weeks will have a little bit of math at this kind of level. Anyway, so here's the question, right? Determine if a non-negative number n is a power of 3. You might be thinking a whole bunch of things right now, which is maybe you think it's easy. Maybe you think you have an idea for how to do it. Maybe you have no idea how to do it. Maybe you know a silly way to do it, but you don't know, you feel like it might not be the right way. And yeah, not to ding math. I mean, I love math too, but it just doesn't have to do with tech. That's all. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this question sheet, and I'm going to do what the understand step is. So this is what they're expecting you to do. So you're in the interview. We're in the interview together. This is now the question: determine if a non-negative number n is a power of 3. So first of all, what is a non-negative number? So all it does is it just basically includes 0, right? 0 and up. So these are the numbers that it could be. What is a power of 3? So if something is a power of 3, that means 3 raised to the 1, which is equal to 3. 3 raised to the 2, so is equal to 9. So 3 times 3, or 3 times 3 times 3, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, right? So those are the powers of 3. And then I want to figure out if some input is going to be a power of 3. So for example, wow, Replit. So my input is going to be 0, and what is 0 a power of 3? So I'm just looking at the chat. So 0 is not a power of 3 because 3, I can't raise 3 to anything that will create 0. Is 1 a power of 3? So 3 raised to 0 is 1. So this is true. And then so on, right? So this process that I'm doing right now is called mapping out test cases. So in order to succeed in the interview, before you code, you must do this step. So what did I do? I've created a set of conditions, which are the possible inputs. So the first step of understand, right? If you skip the step, you don't get the points for it. If you don't get the points for it, you don't, the interviewer doesn't give you this score. So this part is, we went through, we understood the prompt, which is pretty simple prompt in this case. Then what are the possible inputs? So what they're asking for you to do in this case in an interview is to say, well, I know -1 is not an input because it's not a non-negative number. So it could be 0, could be 1, could be 2, could be 4, could be 9. And then the second thing they want you to do is they want you to predict the output So this is the second thing that I did, which is take 0, and I said it was false. 1, it was true. 9, it was true. 8, it's false, right? So at that point, you've collected another set of points from the interviewer, which is, well, what is the expected output? So generally speaking, you want to do 3 good cases, 3 edge cases. You're not supposed to be comprehensive at this point, but you're just trying to prove to the interview that you comprehend the problem, even if it seems simple to you. It's like, you know how in school they tell you, if you just write the answer, you don't get points for that question? Same thing, right? So a lot of students just go to code. That's the equivalent to just writing the answer, and you don't get full credits for the problem. That was one of the number of reasons why our students were not passing the interview. So now I have to do this step where I have to say, kind of, well, what are the possible inputs and outputs here? And then I have to do this next step, which is called matching. So for those of you who have dug into problems already, does anyone know, if anyone knows how to do this, there's actually 4 or 5 ways to do this problem. I usually like to tell the interviewer and say, hey, I'm going to do this the dumb way first, right? I'm going to do this the stupid way, the brute force way, just to make sure we understand the problem. Usually along the way, you'll figure out like a smarter way. But always feel comfortable starting with the dumb way. Matching means that for the questions that you will master this summer and then next summer, you have to have, there is some prerequisite knowledge. There's algorithms and tricks that you'll have to know ahead of time. So your goal is to determine what is the trick here. In this thing, let me first say there is no special trick for the naive approach, right? So how do I know if something is a power of 3? I keep on dividing it by 3 until I get to 1. If I don't reach 1, then it's not an exponent of 3, right? So if it's 27, right? 27 divided by 3 is 9. Hope that's right. Divided by 3, it's 3. Divided by 3 again, it's 1. Okay, so 27 is a power of 3. So that's the kind of naive approach, and that's all you need to do to solve this problem. For other problems, you need to know some trick, right? So what we've done is we've collected and we've created 100 tricks for you to use, and those are all the tricks you'll ever need to use, right? Everything pattern matches back to that. By the way, mentors, I know you've joined by now. We're just going to take a few more minutes, and once Gladys tells me that the breakout rooms are ready to go, I'm going to start transitioning us to breakout rooms. So thanks everyone for tolerating me for a little bit. Your mentors, many of these mentors have arrived, and I'm just waiting for Gladys to let me know if the breakout rooms are ready. Okay, so in this particular case, right, there is no special algorithm. There is no special match. I just need to recognize that I need to understand what an exponent is and then how to go through a loop. So there is a loop here. By the way, for those of you who are following along, is this a for loop or is this a while loop? Is this a for loop or is this a while loop? Audience says while. Could actually technically be a for, but generally speaking, the reason why, hey, you solve it recursively, someone says that, right, which you can. But for loops are more typically used for when you know how many iterations you're going to take. 27, okay, is one thing, but what if it was like 1 billion, blah, 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 blah. How many times do I have to divide it before I figure out whether it's a power of 3? I don't know. So the most natural loop to use for this is a while loop, and to say that it is going to, repeat until you get to a certain point. Right, so matching is all about identifying what trick you're going to use. In this case, the set of tricks are very simple. We're going to tell the interviewer this is kind of a first principles problem, which means there are no fancy tricks. And then I'm just going to start to discuss the plan now. So during the planning phase, you're not coding yet. During the planning phase, you must be able to describe in English you know, how you're going to approach this problem. What I'm really looking for is an English statement like, well, I'm going to take the number and I'm going to keep dividing it by 3 until it's either equal to 1 or it's 0. That's it. That's my plan, right? Is there a smarter way? Probably, right? But that's the plan for the approach I'm going to take right now. So let me kind of write that out. So here's my plan. I'm going to divide the number by 3 until it's less than or equal to 1. Right? So basically, if I were to break that plan into another level of granularity by just mapping out the steps, then I would say that, okay, so first of all, and by the way, this should have been part of the understand step, sorry, is really one way to reflect that you understand things is that you've named your method with inputs and outputs. So let's say that this method might be called is power of 3. And it's going to take as its input some integer. And then it's going to return a bool, right? So by being able to write this function, which is normally done as part of the understand step, I know what I want the function to be able to do. I want to call it is power of 3. I want to pass in an integer, and I want to return true or false. So the next thing that I want to do is, again, try to really avoid jumping into code, right? You're going to start to map out in English. It can be pseudo-code-ish English, right? So I mentioned there's a while loop here. So let's say that we want to have some while. What is the condition here? So one thing when you're sketching out the problem, the condition is often the trickiest part. And so I almost like to leave it for last, right? Which is like, I don't know, I'm going to do this a bunch of times. I don't know how many times. I'm just going to do it until some condition, right? Well, what am I going to do to advance the thing? If I'm dividing it by 3, well, I need to divide it by 3, right? So I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to divide it again and again by 3 until something, right? Until some condition happens. So I said until it's less than or equal to 1. So while n is greater than 1, while it's greater than 1, then I want to keep on dividing it, right? And then, so when I reach this point, one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to be 1, which means that it's true, or it's going to be 0, you know, because 2 divided by 3 for integers is 0. And so finally, it's going to be, you know, if n is 1, then return true. Else, otherwise, so I'm going to write in kind of pseudocode here, return false. Right? So typically, once you finish your planning stage, that's when you get to your favorite part, which is the implementation stage. Then you start to translate your idea into code. And then we're not going to get to this now. I'm going to hopefully I'm still waiting for Gladys to tell me whether breakout rooms are ready here. Zoom, sorry, it's so annoying to put everyone into breakout rooms. It's quite a tedious process. So the next few stages after this, I won't review them now, but after you have a basic implementation, it's very important that you don't stop there. The next thing they're looking for as an interviewer, you cannot go to the interviewer and say, is it right? You have to prove that it's right. And so that's up to you to do the review and evaluate steps. So I'm going to stop here right now. Any questions? Let me just check on the breakout rooms here. Yeah, so any questions about any of this stuff? And by the way, I love, if you go to leetcode.com, if we go to leetcode.com, there's a whole bank of questions. There's a whole bank of questions that you can start practicing if you're interested. And for those of you who have taken data structures and algorithms before, and you feel like the pace is too slow, feel free to ping me, and we can always help you kind of look at the intermediate level even now and see if you're ready to kind of tackle that. So TAs, if you're here already, sorry, we're having a one-time kind of setup delays, but if you could change your Zoom name to be your name dash TA. And the Tuesdays and Saturdays are kind of the same, except for Saturdays. If when we get to the mock interviewing stages, it'll tend to be Saturdays. Yes, Daniela, if you did the HackerRank C++, you can of course do it in any language you choose. So while we're waiting for the breakout rooms, go ahead and click on session 1, the session 1 tab for week 1. Oh, sorry. Actually, this is on a different tab. Okay, so let me explain what you do once the breakout rooms are ready. So we're done. That was all of the technical stuff for the session today. Today, the rest of the session is all about getting to know your people of 6. So what I'd like you to do once you get in there is, by the way, one thing when you get in interviews is that they're going to ask you to tell you about themselves. Tell them about yourself. So what you want to do is you want to kind of practice saying more than, hey, I'm Tim, I went to University of Texas, I'm a sophomore, and I'm studying CS, right? So what you need to be able to do is start to tell the story of yourself. So what we're going to practice in the breakout rooms is love for you to spend more than just that. You can do it that quick intro version first, but what I like you to do is practice telling a little bit more of your life story, right? And by the way, remember, this is your peer group for the next 12 weeks. You all are going to keep each other in the seat for 12 weeks. So give a little bit of time, don't think of it as an interview, but do think of it as sharing a little bit about yourself. And so start warming up your webcams, because we'll be switching over to the breakout rooms where you can get rid of me and my rambling, and soon know about you and you chatting with your groups. And so we'll spend the remaining half hour, 45 minutes. Okay, we got the high sign. All right, breakout rooms activate. Gladys, go ahead, do whatever it does to make the Saturdays from 10:30 to 11:30. So they'll be with you for an hour to kind of coach you each week. And mentors, are hopefully kind of help you make it a little bit less awkward in that room. I know it can be awkward via Zoom. We're strangers now, but we will soon be close friends. So give it a few weeks. Give it a few weeks of awkwardness. Let it break in, and then really see if you can reach out to your team, your pod. This is your support system. Remember that our mutual goal here is to help you establish that habit of practice. Because as long as you achieve establishing the habit of practice, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, year round, you will get to the point where you can crush any of these kind of interviews. So just a final kind of notes of reminder. So Saturday, next session will be 10 a.m. Course portal is where you live. So click on the session 2 tab to see what we'll be doing in session 2. And then click on the assignment tab. It's due by Monday, midnight on Monday, PST, is to submit those sandbox questions. They're pretty chill. We're kind of warming up slow. So just get you in that routine of every week, submitting that problem sandbox. And by the way, final note is if you feel like the pace of the class is too slow for you, or there's some other issue with the class, just ping me, let me know. We can see if you are a better fit in one of the other tracks, or you can stay in this track, right? So just let me know if anything's not working for you. Not all the mentors could come today, so they'll be here Saturday if they couldn't make it today, if you weren't able to meet your amazing, awesome industry mentor. So I think that's the end of like our session today. I'm going to be hanging out here and chatting and just answering follow-up questions. You're dismissed. I know some of you it's late for you, so thank you for kind of accommodating our weird time zone for now. But thank you, everybody. I'm going to stay here, just chit chat with anyone who has lingering questions. Feel free to ask questions here. But thank you, mentors. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Right now, how about you? Can I still move to the other class, like to the intermediate level, or the time is
So for those of you who have taken data structures and algorithms before, the other class does require it because they'll do linked lists and binary trees and graphs and so on. And so that's the only problem. If you're kind of stuck in between, I have to give it a few weeks and then reach out to me if you feel like the pace is too slow, and I'll kind of like help build a track that's a little bit better for your level if you have not yet taken data structures and algorithms.
Okay, thank you.
Team.
Yes, and by the way, while we're chit-chatting, anyone, you're dismissed, but feel free to stay. I'm going to chill out here and ask questions in the chat if you're waiting for us to talk.
Is there any chance that my friend can join this course?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure some of us have friends because we've convinced you how awesome it is to be in part of Codepath. So the class is full, but what we can do is if they're interested in taking, if they're qualified, they're a CS student, freshman, or they're in a university, then they can take the admissions hacker rank, and we can see about getting them observer access so they can follow along with the pace and the materials.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I had a quick question for like towards the end of the course. I like read something, I can't remember where, that there would be like pipeline opportunities to get like technical interviews. Was that like also an aspect of this beginner course as well?
It's not a guarantee. For intermediate and above, we guarantee tech interviews.
Okay.
For beginner, it depends. Like I don't want to give you a false promise. Some companies may be interested and willing to interview the beginner class students. The primary goal of this is to get to the intermediate class. But there actually are plenty of companies where the beginner level questions is the level. Microsoft is like way up here. It's like at a 10. It's pretty challenging. Google, Facebook, they're fairly challenging interviews. There's a lot of companies that if Microsoft is like a 10 in difficulty, a lot of companies do interview at the kind of 2, 3 level. So I don't want to discount to say that you can't succeed in an interview at the end of this class. So we'll definitely see.
Got it.
Have you taken data structures and algorithms before?
I think I've taken a bit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that is like, if you are interested in getting a little bit ahead, then I think the route is self-study. You have to if you've not taken those concepts yet, like linked lists and binary trees. Do you know those? Do you know those words?
Yeah, I've done linked lists and binary trees, but I don't think I've done like hash maps yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, there's that checklist, and you can always audit our intermediate prep materials, intermediate level materials, and just see what gaps you have, and maybe you can qualify for the the career fair through the intermediate track.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So let's see here. Can I say beginner? Yes. Anyone here can have observer access to the intermediate level. By the way, so Anam for that question.
I have a question real quick. Sorry, I have to go in like 2 minutes.
But so you mentioned that anyone here can have access to the observer track for intermediate. So like, how does that work? Can we like watch Zoom lectures? Like, how can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so a lot of people are asking about the intermediate, and I assume it's because you've taken data structures and algorithms, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense unless you're willing to self-study those subjects. But I'll send a note in the recap email on the next steps for that process. What you do is you do not join the Zoom sessions. You'll listen to the 30-minute recorded lecture. That's the instructor kickoff. Then you can do the practice problems kind of on your own. And then you can take the end of week weekly HackerRank. The intermediate level one and the advanced level one get much harder for the end of week HackerRanks. So yeah, you can test yourself on that, keep track. So that's what the observer access is like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I have a question concerning the career fair at the end of the class.
Yeah.
Is there like a list of the companies that will be attending the career fair?
Not yet, because we're still building those partnerships.
All
so
right.
we're going to be, targeting 50 companies for this fair. And we have, I think, 14 or so-ish so far. So.
And do we have?
You have Morgan Richardson to thank. You know her name eventually. She's the one that's working tirelessly to set it up. It's going to be her full-time job for the next few months to pound the pavement for you all.
And also, do we have access to like any type of referral system?
So right now, the career fair is the primary matching that we have. Oh, I just realized I didn't have my video on. Sorry about that. But we're also working with a lot of companies that are asking for resume books. And so if you'd like to be listed in the resume book for that type, then we'll have that as well.
All right. But can we ask anyone in the alumni network for a referral?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
And you should. That's part of the reason the alumni network exists.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I want to ask that when can we start doing lead code questions? I mean, does it require us to know data structures and algorithms to jump in?
That's good. That's cool. Some of them do. But so here's what I would do. Here's how I would approach lead code. For every question on the face of the planet, the solution for it is online. Lead code itself on the solution, it has a solution tab. Or if you don't want to pay for, some of them are premium, so it's locked. But everything is on Geek for Geeks, right? These are all classic problems. There's nothing that original here. So if you don't know it, what you can do is just read the solution. It's not cheating, because these are not problems from scratch. They're problems with known tricks. And so if you don't know it, you have to study the trick. And then what you'll find eventually is that there won't be any question that's novel anymore. As you continue to go through this process, you'll realize, oh, well, that's actually just, it's not power of 3, it's power of 4, so the same general approach. And so therefore, if it's for referencing a concept that you don't know, like how to do a depth first traversal of a binary tree, then you can study in that moment, right? So like you can certainly, that's how I would do it. I would take the lead code questions, I would go through the easy tags. Some of them would trigger concepts that you're not familiar with. I would look at the solution for it, then I would study whatever it is that it was referencing. All of the alumni for Codepath are on the Slack that you're in right now. You're already in the alumni Slack. So not only your class, but also like all past classes.
I have a question. How does the career fair work? Like, especially for a person like me who has no background in coding as such, just a beginner, because I started learning Python just recently, and I'm doing this program. How would it be beneficial for me? Would I be able to be placed by the end of it or not? I don't know. But how does it work, basically?
A little bit TBD. So I don't want to promise something to you that's false.
Sure, of course.
Like intermediate is kind of our minimum bar for, because if you don't have some of these concepts down, like link, and they're not hard, by the way, but it is depending on how much you want to study this summer. So I also want to give you a reasonable pace, right? Something that you can sustain for a long time. But if you are an eager beaver, if you do want to see if you can beat the pace, then you really do have to self-study some of these topics, like how do you
Okay.
reverse a linked list, and how do you like find the midpoint of a linked list, and how do you do all of these things. I don't want to set the expectation that beginner track will necessarily have access to the career fair. We're working on it, by the way. We're still working on companies, which I won't name, but like we're chatting with them very frequently to see if we can find companies that will interview the beginner level material students.
Sure, yeah. Like even if we don't qualify, at least would we be able to see how it works so that if we come back for the intermediate or the advanced level in future after completing the beginner, then we would know exactly what we're, like gonna see in the
Not
future,
if you couldn't participate unless you were able to level in, or unless we were
Okay.
able to, and we're working on it, to find a
Sure.
set of companies that will interview at the beginner level. And the reason why is just the slots are limited, because we do make a guarantee, which is pretty sweet, by the way, which is stay in for the intermediate class, is everyone gets like five plus interviews. So
Yeah.
all the slots get taken up by the intermediate and the advanced students.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
for example, like for the Career Center, what we do is we help and coach students to also apply on their own, and we'll try to pull every string that we can to connect with alumni. By the way, you all are future alumni, so one day I'm going to call on you. Interview my beginner students. I hope that you'll say yes, because then if you all say yes, then this problem will be solved, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to create those systems as well, so that we can. So no promises yet. We've not given up on getting matches for the beginner students.
Sure,
but
sure.
we're not at the promise step for that yet.
Tim,
Thank
sorry.
So are we gonna go like automatically to intermediate, or we have to apply next summer again to be in intermediate?
You have to apply again next summer. But it's a very kind of, as long as you follow through, I mean, my prediction is if you can excel in the beginner class, then you should be able to pass the prerequisites of the intermediate class and that hacker rank. So it does involve it does require data structure algorithm. So you must take that class before you take the intermediate class.
Thank you.
So it's not a continuation after you complete the beginner, you can hop on to the intermediate. It's not like
it's designed to be a continuation, but the only thing is we're not a replacement yet, although we want to be, for your computer science program. So we expect that, because we're not going to teach linked lists, we're going to expect you to know it, and then we're going to train you up in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, for example, like, we have to do merge sort for linked lists. So that's something that you have to learn first in your data structures class, which is CS2, and then qualify for our class.
Yeah, so I have taken data structure, and I have like some knowledge of linked list and the tree, all that thing. But at the same time, like I don't have like advanced knowledge on that. So I started from beginner track, so that I can build that foundation and all that stuff. But like if I like started like doing this and then like access to the observer thing and everything, and how can I just like approach to you like so that I can get some exam or something to be in the intermediate?
Yeah, so like for those of you who are like, say, maybe some of you have already taken a data structures and algorithms, but you didn't feel confident and you didn't feel ready, and you don't feel necessarily super comfortable with those problems. So you're asking like, well, how do I get into the intermediate class? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I mean, okay, the idea of it is, this is the idea. Okay, so I'll tell you why I'm hesitating. This summer,
terms, like when the stimulus thing was happening, and
so to be perfectly honest with you, we're continuously trying to expand the capacity of our class. So this summer we have 800 students. Last summer we only had 200 students. Next summer we want 1,600 students. So what I want to say to you is you'll be fine. Take the beginner class, study up on some the intermediate materials, and then you'll be into the intermediate class. So just, assuming that we're able to open up that capacity.
I think you answered this question earlier, but still I'm going to ask because I wasn't too clear about the answer. So after we pass through the beginner, when can we apply for the intermediate?
As soon as you take the data structures and algorithms class.
That's another class that is offered by Codepath.
No, that's your CS like at your school.
Oh, my school? No. Okay.
But we have to be qualified for that, like when we apply like next year in the intermediate, right?
Yes, you have to take that class in order to be, or you can self-study, right? So, it's not like we're checking your transcript or anything. If you go and you audit a data structures and algorithms class and you really understand this checklist of stuff, it's like, I don't want to say it's easy, but like, it's like anything. Once you start to dig into it and start to work with it, it's just a set of things that you have to know.
Yeah, I think I'll have to take it outside from somewhere because in my school I haven't studied that. I had a different background, so it's a long story, but I'm gonna prepare myself.
There's a lot of great data structures materials like online. If your program has, if your school has either a weak data structures class or algorithms class, you don't really like it, there's a lot of great kind of open source ones that you can take. Yeah, 1,600 would be great because we're a little bit shy of 800 students this summer, across the 3 tracks, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So yeah, would love to double that for next summer.
Do you have
a question?
Like to study online or like helpful resources to study data structure and algorithms?
Yeah, you want a recommendation of like where to study data structures?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me get back to you on that. Interview Cake is one of my favorite resources, but it's a paid resource.
What is it again?
Interviewcake.com.
Oh, okay.
Can you type it,
The
please?
MIT course is great. Although, I think it's a little bit theoretical. So I don't find the MIT, like, unless you've taken it and you like it, but I do find it interesting, although there are, I think, better linked courses than the MIT one. Sounds like I'm not surprised that Coursera has a good one.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, Vani.
Okay. Well, first, thank you for your time and for the session. It was very helpful. My question is, so after this session, or just in general, after the first session for each week, how do you recommend us going about like our assignments?
Yeah, so this week we're going to start off pretty light. So you just click on the assignment tab and then you just try the HackerRank. The HackerRank is an untimed HackerRank, so you have plenty of time to research it. Like I said, if you don't know how to do it, try, but like eventually, pretty quickly, look up the solution online. The solution for every problem is available online, or ping us, with what the problem is. And if you get bored and you have more time, then start going through the LeetCode easy flagged questions.
Gotcha. And the last question is, what was Michael's name for Slack?
Okay. If you just look for Michael, it'll say Michael dash like CEO dash Codepath or something.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I have a question.
Alex shared that you get 3 weeks of free access to Interview Cake.
I did not know that.
Yes, someone had a question.
Yes.
Sorry, you go first.
Okay. So I'm currently taking data structure. It's been like 5 weeks since I'm taking it, and I was wondering if I could move to the intermediate stage.
Probably not, because everyone there has already taken the whole class.
Okay.
But what I'd recommend that you do is that if you can, follow along with the intermediate. So like I have a few, action items. I'm going to send the whole group kind of information about how to like take a look at the intermediate class, right? And so what I'd recommend is take a look at it, start doing the practice problems for the intermediate class if you're at that level, right? And then if you can follow along there and you just feel like that's a better pace for you, then just let me know.
And if you have access to the intermediate class, would you still have access to the beginner one?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. All right, thank you.
And
Hi. I wanted to.
And by the way, for those of you, if you have questions, queue them up in the group chat if you're having a hard time getting your question in, and I'll go through them kind of in order. But yeah, go ahead. Whoever was talking.
Okay. I saw that Codepath is partnered with MLT, and I wanted to ask if we can also get opportunities through Codepath to be part of MLT.
Yeah, we can certainly refer you to MLT if that's what you're asking. You've applied to be a fellow there?
No, but actually, one of the students in the program, like in my team, told me that your partner told me about the MLT program, and I went on the website and I saw that Codepath is partnered with you. So I wanted to ask if there's any opportunities I can have.
Yeah, just ping Michael on Slack and say you're interested in NLT, which is oh man, Management Leaders of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Management Leaders of Tomorrow, for those of you who don't know. Yeah, it's a great program.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, so I have experience with algorithm and solving problems and also software engineering, but I'm really new in USA and started my PhD directly from bachelor. But I have no experience with interview, how to do that like code pair interview, because from this pair, I actually rejected one of my interview this year. So I don't know, for the beginner track, the problem we have discussed today in the past, it seems I can do it, but you also explain about how to get access to the intermediate class. I actually just tried, but I couldn't find a link to have access to the intermediate class. I think I can cover up the beginner class pretty well. So maybe I can do these two things together. So I was hoping if we can have the link of intermediate class where you can have access.
Absolutely, yeah. So at the end of this class, I'm going to send a link to the intermediate prep materials, to their course, and you can start, and I recommend that you start poking around if you're feeling like this pace might be too slow for you. But give it a few weeks with the beginner track, right? And just give it a try. And I recommend that you try both.
Yeah, I'll try both because I don't have any experience with interview system. So I want to do both at the same time. And I'm not hoping to have the career fair. That's not my plan for now. I just want to know how this interview process goes here because I have no idea. So I was hoping to have the link or just resources to get me on the track.
For sure, absolutely.
So this link will be shared in Slack, or should I send an email again?
I'm going to email the whole. I'm going to email the whole.
Sorry,
class.
then I actually missed that before conversation. I'm really sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Early access to. Is it Raziel? Once you're in Codepath, you have access to all of our courses forever. So what I recommend is for the intermediate class or for the advanced class, you can start auditing it even at the end of the beginner class and start kind of preparing those materials and getting ready.
I had one last question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we get access to observing the intermediate class again?
It'll be in a follow-up email that I'll send to the whole group about how to take a look at the intermediate stuff.
So will that be like after the course or throughout?
Throughout the course.
Oh, all right.
I'll send it like in a few days.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, this is tricky, right? Because Ximing has a similar question. It's hard to create a perfect fit class where the beginner is too slow, the intermediate is too fast. So Ximing is saying, hey, and maybe I think this is similar to Hamida's question, which is you do have some basic knowledge of some of these things, but maybe not enough that you feel super comfortable with it, and certainly maybe not doing some of those trickier problems with it. So for that, I would recommend staying in the beginner class, but starting to like add to your own workout, so to speak, by peeking into harder and harder questions. And whatever assignments that we're giving you in the beginner class, just add on questions to challenge yourself. Shiming, I think that's the best way, and Hamida as well, to kind of manage the gap between the beginner class and the intermediate class. Because the intermediate class, it does move pretty quickly once it gets going. So that's my only concern for, I think there was someone else who kind of have just now taken data structures and algorithms. So I'm more concerned that intermediate class, I don't want to put you on too fast of a train. I think it's better to stay on this train, but then if it's moving too slow, to start to consume and practice more. And then, hey, who knows? See if you can keep up with the intermediate class. And if you think you can, then maybe we'll switch you in, right? Because students will drop out of that class and there will be slots open. But try to keep pace first and see what happens. So stay here, keep pace, keep on adding questions for yourself.
So how are we able to access the intermediate track?
Yes.
I don't think
Sorry if that's not.
I don't think I know how to do it.
Exactly, yeah. So I'll send instructions for that after this class.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's like the
Oh, my bad.
Go ahead. Here.
Same. So this is like a not random questions, but is it possible for you to bring the security engineering class, the course, to my school? Is it possible?
Is it possible to bring
the security engineering class, like you have in the cybersecurity class you have, and is it possible to bring it, or can I audit it online? Is there a way I can participate in that?
So I didn't quite catch everything you said, but yes, we would love for students to bring Codepath classes to their campus. So whatever our course offerings are, then we would definitely want to do that. Let me run through some of these questions in the order too. So international students, what are the chances about getting a job in terms of visa? A few years ago, the odds were great. I know a million H-1B, folks. These days, right now, it's frankly going to be very challenging. So we'll have to see what happens in the end of the year, basically. So I think someone already answered, Hannah. I don't think we can record the breakout rooms. You can still do the hacker ranks for the intermediate. So a lot of people have questions about the intermediate, which is very fair, right? Because you're trying to control and set the pace that works the best for you. So you'll have access as if you're the student to the intermediate, except for the Zoom breakout room sessions. Codepath student, do we have full access to Supreme Code, LeetCode? No, unfortunately not. We don't have a partnership with them yet. So I think the visa question already answered. How do you know when you try new LeetCode? So Raziel, just try it, right? And then, like I said, don't feel bad about looking at the solution. There is a big aspect of memorization in algorithms. And so it's completely okay to look at the answer and to understand, what trick they're using, what pattern they're using. What you should do after you've read the solution is try, just based on the general approach, try to see if you can code it. And then just keep on trying harder and harder questions on LeetCode, and then you'll be able to tell when you're ready for the intermediate level for LeetCode. Yes, after this class, I do think you should be able to be prepared to take a data structures class, certainly at your university or online. So if you're taking a class, I think that this will certainly help prepare you. You can absolutely put Codepath courses on your LinkedIn. We highly recommend it. I would put it in the education section, not the experience section. Shiming, Gladys is here. If she captured your attendance, then she's fine. If she has questions, she'll follow up with you, but you can just tell her that you're here. Yes, the recording for this will be sent after this class.
Will we always be in our breakout rooms each session, or do we get like a chance to interact with other groups or students?
In this format for this summer, it's going to be, you know, that's going to be your group. If you have problems with that group, let us know.
Okay. No.
What kind of problem? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, we've created groups for years. You know, there's interpersonal things that happen. You know, so we'll try to make it. We'll try to do what we can. Shift people around.
Question: are we gonna have group project too?
Sorry.
Are we gonna have group project like working?
A group project, not for this class. This class is a more individual class, except for the, you know, your practice buddies.
Oh.
Yeah. The fall we do. So if you all are interested in taking our iOS or Android class this fall, which is super fun, you'll be able to build your own iOS or Android app. It's pretty cool. You know, maybe you'll toss some equity our way. I don't know.
Yeah, is it free or like you have to pay for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Free.
That's
refunds if you don't like it.
Victor had a question and I think I cut him off.
Oh yeah, sorry. You're fine. So do you think this course does a good job of preparing us for like those internships aimed towards first and second years, like, you know, Facebook University or Microsoft Explorer?
Do I think this course helps you prepare for that? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Absolutely. So some of you may know we run Facebook University. We don't control the admissions for it. So unfortunately, you can't bribe us to get in because we have no control over that. But we do run it. What he's referring to, I don't know if you are familiar, a lot of companies have these like early internship programs, which are pretty cool. You should apply to them all. There's a bunch of them actually, and they're all great. And yeah, that particular one, Facebook University, is pretty cool. We also run it, and they essentially run a version of our iOS and Android curriculum.
Is there like a place that we can find like different resources for first and second years, like Facebook University and Microsoft Explorer?
That's a resource that we really ought to have, but I don't think we have like a quick collection of all of them anywhere. I just wrote down over here to ask Morgan, she's our career center person, to see if she has something like that. So let's see, has this program always been online? We do blended. So summers are always online, and then falls we'll also have an online offering. But if we can come to your campus, then we love that because students can meet in person. It's easier to do the group project, you know, stuff like that.
Sorry, do you come to is it East Coast, like Maryland area? Can you come to Maryland?
Yes, we're in many places on the East Coast.
Okay.
So for Ida, yes, that looks like the same stuff. That's the same stuff that's covered in normal data structures and algorithms classes. Yeah, Victor, thanks for that link. Yeah, there's more than that too. I think like Morgan Stanley has one. LinkedIn has one. Airbnb has one. Just have a winter class. Yes, when we have fall, spring, summer. So fall, spring, summer. So we're closer to the semester system than we are the quarter system.
When is the deadline for fall to apply?
It's not for a while. Applications aren't going to be open until for another few months.
Okay.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs. I saw that I saw they had an early internship program too. Samara, great question. Can you email support@codepath.org? And there's like an intake process for bringing a Codepath class, like the iOS or Android class or the cybersecurity class, to your campus. Abdullah, does the college we go to matter or not matter to get a good job? Okay, so here's the thing, which is the good thing is it doesn't matter if you're, I don't know what college you go to, it doesn't matter if you're not at a top college. However, like once you build a single good brand on your resume, that brand, it wipes out the entire past before it. And so what you do want to do is you do want to upgrade your resume so that there's better and better brands on it. Once you get one, you don't need to keep going though. That one will already be enough. So brand being like, for example, let's say that I went to a local community college. It's a no brand experience. And then I got a job as a Google engineer. No one would ever ask me what college, like ask your TA, hey, what college did any of your peers go to? No one knows, right? No one knows anything about people's educational experience past a certain point. And then what happens when you're applying is they'll look for the single validating brand signal. Brand, Judy, being Google's an example, but there's many others actually. Pinterest, any company that you've heard of, any company that has engineering standards that are similar to any of these companies that you've heard of. It's like, Razel, it's not, I wouldn't go so far as say it's merit-based, it's reputation-based. Like you can go to a non-brand, what you're really trying to do is you're really trying to solve hard problems. Because when you solve hard problems, you go to an interview and you say, oh yeah, I re-architected the web to scale to 100,000 requests per second. The challenge is that how do you access those great experience problems? So that is what you're really trying to unlock. And so access to a brand name like Google or whatever will give you access to those problems. And people do pay attention to that on your resume and in the interview. At the end of this program, do we have a tangible portfolio? No, this class is not a portfolio class. So this class, by the end of this, I think people are going to be, I hope that by the end of this class, for many, like for example, Intuit, Hamida, we were talking about this earlier. Intuit has fairly easy questions. So
Really?
I think that you would be able to, or all of you after this would be able to crush an Intuit style kind of interview. And a lot of companies too, they do, yeah, like I said, this caliber of question difficulty. So really we're focusing this particular class, not on portfolio. This is all about the algorithms kind of prep. Fall is portfolio building. Fall, you'll have an amazing portfolio. If you take our iOS and Android class, you can take it remote if we're not at your campus. And yeah, you can make a gorgeous, amazing app that you can talk about. And it's a great story for your interview.
How long is that?
How long is the course?
Yes,
it's about 12 weeks.
Okay.
I have a question about the fall Android development course. Will it be asynchronous? Because like in the fall, I'll be taking classes at my university as well. So what if I can't attend the Zoom sessions?
Yeah, so it's usually synchronous. So you can like with any of our classes, you can observe it, and that's fine. We love it when people observe our classes. The only thing that I would share with you for observation is that for our observers, only 10% of them complete the class. So that's just the stat, right? You might think that you can complete it, and I hope you do, but it's our observation completion stat is more similar to Udemy or any of these courses. So our secret to success, so to speak, is signing you up to this like fitness program where we're really obnoxious about finding you when you don't submit your stuff. And so we help you keep pace. If you have the discipline to do it though, yes, you will have access to our course at observer pace, and you can definitely complete it just like you can complete a Udemy class. And Android will be online too.
All right, thanks for answering all my questions. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night.
Question, is it, so you said like you're gonna come to our university and then provide the class for us, right? So like, is it gonna be in every university, or like, there's a specific university you're gonna go and then we have to take class over there?
There's a whole process to literally going to the university. So, if you're willing to help with that, then we'll give you a checklist of how to make that happen. It's pretty involved. we would love it to happen because, like I said, it really is great to go to the campus. You can meet in the live classroom. You can have a lot of the cool things. Half of our classes are for credit, you know, so you can get it to work that way. And if you can't make that process happen, then you can always take the remote version.
Thank you.
Tim, how would we go about taking it remotely? When I go to sign up for the iOS class, for example, there's no option for such a thing. It just asks me for what school location I kind of want to choose.
It's because we've not opened admissions for the remote class yet.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Why are there so little opportunities for cybersecurity? Well, so remember how I told you in the beginning of this that I was going to teach you the secrets of tech and the tech industry? So here's one secret, which are the number of jobs in web and mobile dominate by multiple orders of magnitude any other job opportunity. So if you're uncertain about, no matter where you want the future tech direction to do, you should definitely learn web at the very least, full stack web. And I would argue mobile is a good thing to pick up too. If you get interested in data science, ML, cybersecurity, you know, great, that's fantastic. And you can build a very successful career for them. But if you go to like Lyft, they have 1,000 web engineers and like a couple security engineers. Do you understand? So there's a major scale difference in terms of the opportunities available. Like I said, I wouldn't want to deter you from cybersecurity, but their teams are just much smaller. Yeah, and so it is, but if you're interested in it, right? We run a cybersecurity program, obviously. So obviously we want to help guide students to that track. But that's your answer to the question, why there's a little opportunity in cybersecurity for big tech companies. Judy, yeah, if you email support@Codepath, actually, I'm just gonna write this down. Like, I'm gonna say, send how to bring. People would love, we have a growth team right now. They would be happy. They would love to answer that question.
How long are these programs when we take it to the school, the Codepath programs?
They're semester long.
Semester long,
So,
okay, got it.
Yeah, we have a quarter format and we have a semester format. It's a little bit shorter because we try to avoid your midterms and finals.
Okay, got it.
For auditing per se, the intermediate track, you said you'll be sending out email about that, right?
Yep.
Okay, I might bug you personally about it because I'm not set up properly still in the Slack and or the email, but I guess we could deal with that next week or at another time.
For sure, yeah. If you're not in the Slack somehow, you can email me at tim@codepath.org.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, no problem.
You're probably like annoyed by all the intermediate questions, but like I
No.
have taken I've also have taken data structures, and like I plan to take like HackerRank intermediate and do the beginner at the same time. Like at what point should I like notify you, say like maybe this is too slow for me, or like when should I know like this might be like intermediate might be better for me?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll probably know by the end of the second week. I think you'll have a good idea. And if you're submitting everything that the intermediate class is submitting, so like taking the HackerRank as well, I'll also show you where you are on the distribution curve. So I think this is something that's really useful when we have this like broad base of students, is it's useful to figure out like where you stack against each other. So one of our mentors was actually messaging us like, why are there so many like MIT kids in here? And there's kids from everywhere here, you know? So it's really interesting and useful to figure out where you stack up. So Judy, what I recommend you do is like, if you're finding that the weekly exercises are kind of within your ability level, you feel like you can, you know, maybe it's hard, maybe it's not, but it's, you know, certainly, you feel like you can do it. Then you feel like you're doing, you know, pretty decent on the end of week HackerRank. Then I'll also show you where you're stacking up with the rest of the intermediate class. And we can have a conversation about, you know, if that's a better pace for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good. Like I actually, when I was applying for Codepath, they made me do it twice because I guess I fell between beginner and intermediate. So I took the intermediate hacker rank, but I landed into beginner. So I don't know. I just want to see like what it's like to
Yeah,
if I
no,
can
absolutely. We
pace.
definitely I think there is a little bit of a gap between the beginner and intermediate level right now. But if, like I said, if you kind of improve and you can pick up the pace, and maybe see if you can get in the mix for where they're at. Otherwise, I'd recommend that you just continue auditing. But I think it's certainly possible. It depends on how much effort you put in to level up even in the next few weeks.
Okay. And like if I were to see like intermediate would be a better fit, like would I still be able to have the opportunities to do the career fair with the intermediate, or because I transferred, it wouldn't be like I wouldn't be able to have those opportunities?
You still would be able to access the career fair if you were able to jump into the intermediate class.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
No problem. And by the way, all of these are great questions about beginner versus intermediate. You know, I think you're trying to set yourself up for success, you know, and do the best that you can do to know how to work hard to kind of get yourself this advantage. Yeah, I would really encourage you to take control a little bit of the pace by seeing if you can excel. If the beginner class is too slow, by the way, tell me, you know, and I'll work with you individually too. And see if you can just add problems to yourself, and then also chip away and see if you can reach that intermediate level.
How can we reach out to you, like from the Slack or like just personally from email?
Yeah, try look me up now. You know, I'm there. You'll see a picture of me and my kid, Tim and then Tim at codepath.org. So super reachable. And what brought me to Codepath? Yeah, this is for you entrepreneurs out there, like, you know, did the VC route. VC is super fun, very interesting, you know, raised a bunch of money, sold a company. But bootstrap companies, it's way more fun. So I started Codepath as a bootstrap company. And then eventually we started as a nonprofit because where we're at is we're just interested in social impact. So that's where we wanted to kind of devote our energy.
Mm-hmm.
Bootstrap is where you pay for it yourself. Is where you like start to earn revenue from day one instead of raising money.
So this is kind of out of topic. Next semester, I want to create a first gen / POC in STEM and kind of raising like resources for STEM students at my college, because like at a liberal arts college, like I feel they kind of like, I don't know, they have less resources for STEM students. So like creating this organization or club, like how do you start and how did like Codepath start? Like, yeah.
How do you, so let's see here. So I didn't catch all of your question. You're at a liberal arts college, you feel like they have a weaker STEM kind of side of things. And so you want to start something to maybe bolster that.
Yeah, so I want to create an organization called First Gen / POC, People of Color in STEM, where I'm basically gather resources for STEM students in order to get a leg up on internships and professional development. So I kind of have the same goal as Codepath. I just like was wondering how you guys got up and starting when you guys first started Codepath.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, starting a company is really hard. Super fun, and it is grueling though. And so it is very non-trivial to start something like that. Codepath approach that we took is we did a training services approach. So the way that we bootstrapped from day one is that we started offering courses for revenue immediately. So if you are kind of for that idea, like that, because you know, that's the easiest way to bootstrap is by selling services. It's hard to scale, it's hard to make your revenue large from that, but it's kind of like opening a restaurant level of difficulty, which is like, it's kind of a known playbook and it's relatively low risk. So if you don't have a service to offer, like for example, the first gen POC in STEM, like first of all, who's the buyer? You know, who's paying for that? So for Codepath, we charge the engineering companies out of their recruiting budget. So within the company, you also have to figure out who's your sponsor. So for example, which company would be interested in, you know, supporting a liberal arts college? A lot of companies wouldn't, you know, that's challenging. So I don't know if the industry would be the best supporter for them unless you go through what's called corporate social responsibility, which is a budget line item within companies. So yeah, maybe we should offline the rest of this conversation because maybe it's not relevant for as many people, but yeah, happy to chat with you more about that in terms of like cool things that you could do at your university. But you got to find your angle, you know, and you got to figure out who your customer is, what your revenue is going to be. Are you going to be grant supported? You know, what's the economics behind it?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Tim, so I struggle a lot with coding, not because I don't understand what I'm doing. Theoretically, if you ask me any question in coding sometimes, you know, about computer science, I can answer you. Just because I have like a background in cybersecurity, I have an associate degree in cybersecurity. But it's kind of like very difficult for me to really sit down and code because in February, I interviewed with Facebook and they gave me 2 questions. One of the questions I got it right. The second question, I got it right, but he was asking me that, okay, why do you use this? Why do you use that? But I couldn't really answer him. You know, I couldn't tell him why I'm using those kind of things. So that's why I'm not really sure of, you know, where I stand as a beginner, intermediate. How can you help me, you know, find my path so I can actually know where I can stand?
Yeah, I mean, like I was alluding to this earlier in the class, but that's why we developed the UMPIRE method. So a lot of companies were telling us that students could code it, but they couldn't. Maybe that's what you're saying. They couldn't really talk about their plan. They couldn't really talk about the analysis of it. And they couldn't do some of the other stages of the algorithm development. So that's something we definitely will coach in this class. And then especially as it gets to the intermediate level, I think we'll also flesh out there in terms of like the proper way to dialogue about, you know, a particular question as you're answering it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim.
Yeah. So for example, like someone here was shouting out, I think maybe tongue in cheek, but they were shouting out that maybe we could solve the powers of 3 question recursively instead of iteratively. I don't know if anyone saw that comment.
Yeah, I saw those comments. Yeah, those chat.
Yeah, and so I don't know if they were joking or not, but something that we would teach is that there's always a pro and con to iterative and recursive. And so what's the con of recursive in that context? Well, how large is the power of 3 that we're working with? You know, and is there a possibility, because the flaw of recursive is that there's a limit to the number of iterations you can do before there's a Stack Overflow. And so that's what I mean a little bit when I'm talking about the UMPIRE, where you kind of do that trade-off. And when you're deciding between recursive or iterative, you're doing 2 things, which is a lot of times recursive, it simplifies the code. It makes it like 4 lines instead of 20 lines. But in the powers of 3, you saw that it was a 3-line implementation.
Yeah.
So making it recursive would have added complexity to the solution. And that's something that you're trying to avoid, because complexity, you don't want code that looks smart. You want code that's dumb. Smart code equals bugs. Dumb code equals no bugs. So that's part of the dialogue that you would have with the interviewer, right? Which is they're not looking for little clevernesses, because clevernesses, like I said, is bad engineering often. And so you have to understand, well, this is a little bit less efficient by a little bit, by an insignificant margin, but it's so much easier to read, you know? And so that's what they're looking for, Alex, in the Facebook interview.
Yeah.
When I've actually seen the behind the scenes, they give us cheat sheets for all their interview questions.
Oh.
And they you see what the interviewer is looking for. That's an example of a discussion that you would have as you were analyzing two approaches, the recursive or the iterative approach.
Yeah, because he keep asking me, why did you use this? Why don't you use this? But I couldn't really tell him anything because I actually, at that point, I didn't really know what. I was just typing, just coding what I thought.
Yeah, it's because it's not a smarts thing. It's a study thing. You have to have known the answer. Like, some of you may or may not have known what I was talking about when I said Stack Overflow, or when I was kind of comparing and contrasting recursive or iterative. I'm not like a genius. This is not like I studied it, like I studied it. How do I study it? On LeetCode, on the solution tab, they will talk about all the approaches. Geeks for Geeks, if there's both an iterative or recursive solution, they will have all of the options there. So the thing, Alex, that you haven't done yet enough, I know you say you know it, but you don't know it enough. So what all of you are doing is like, maybe you think that you need like this much practice, which is a lot of practice. Really, you need like this much practice. Alex, what happens when you practice this much is you start to see the patterns. You see a lot more patterns than you see now. So it's not a smarts thing. It's about how much it is in the sense that you have to pay attention, but I can guarantee you that's not where the problem that you all are facing yet. Well, first of all, you're so early in your journey, but whatever, I'm sorry to tell you, be optimistic. You can get into Google. You can do all of those things. It will just take you a bit of a practice that you might find somewhat unreasonable.
That's true, because like I did the ACA rank for Bank of America, not Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon, and I actually passed it. I'm interning with them this summer, but I couldn't
That's
pass
fantastic.
Facebook. Yeah, I couldn't pass Facebook. I was like, man,
Well,
because
that's what I meant when I said you keep on upgrading, though, because by having the interview at the Bank of Mellon, you always give yourself 2 shots on goal too, because you can interview at companies and get in through domain experience. Because maybe at Bank of Mellon you will have amazing. Are you doing web stuff or cybersecurity?
information security team. Yeah.
So you're going to InfoSec. Security is interesting because it's one of those domain experience industries, and so you get 2 years in that, you get another one. I mean, and you might never need to do this algorithm prep process. So that is, like I was alluding to, there are 2 tracks to get into, but if I were just advocating for you, I'd say, just invest in this track too. It's going to open so many doors if you do this like unreasonable investment of time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Question.
no problem.
What is the difference between software engineering and software developer?
I think it'd be splitting hairs to talk about the difference between them. I think for our purposes, I think they're equivalent.
Okay. Thank you, team.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
So team,
yeah.
So team, if I want to become like so if I don't really want to code, for instance, and if I want to become like a researcher, like okay, maybe cybersecurity researcher, security researcher, maybe ML researcher, do they code when they do research, or what do they do basically, those kind of research? If you want to get
So
research,
the cybersecurity field is really broad. I have a book I can send to you. It's a little cheat sheet. Some cybersecurity professionals have to code a lot, or they have to read a lot of code. There's other areas in cybersecurity where you do no coding and you're not really close to code at all. So it really depends like what direction you want to take your cybersecurity career. And I can give you a little book if you're interested that has a page about navigating that direction.
Thank you so much. I'll be interested in the book so I can actually, know where to go. Like for instance, like I know like scripting, ethical hacking, computer networks, forensics, those kind of things. I know those things, but I just don't really know how to like really sit down. Then when you ask, okay, what's this code doing? I can't really tell. I can. If you ask me to code this, I can code it, but I can't really tell you, okay, how I came about this particular stuff I'm doing. But for scripting, let's say I want to write the script to do this, then I can explain to you, okay, I'm writing the script to automate this, I'm writing the script to perform this task. But it's not doing it for coding does not come easier. I find it very hard to really, really explain, okay, this is what I'm doing. But I can read people's code if they put code in there.
Yeah. I will tell you, it's a natural evolution of progress. That is very natural what you're describing, where you can do, but you can't communicate it about it yet. You can't talk about it. It's somehow somehow that's just the order of what happens. Like the instinct and the ability to do just evolves first, and then it's almost like another layer where you'll just have as your understanding deepens of it too. I mean, I would keep on, Alex, trying to communicate, and this is a big part of this class to make it relevant for everyone here, which is like, we want you to talk about your plan. Like, I intend to divide that by 3 until like it gets to like blah, 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 right? So you'll find, is it fair to say that that communicating part, wrapping it up, is harder than, especially if it's such an easy problem, like typing out the code for it. So it is the next level where you'll learn how to more express your understanding. And it is, Alex, not surprising that it has not happened yet. It happens after you get a little bit more and more experience. There is a resume workshop. So we will have a resume workshop on preparing your LinkedIn's, your resumes. You know, a lot of engineers like myself, like you all, people ask me if it's a merit-based. Yeah, it's kind of merit-based. It's a big marketing thing too. And the marketing product is yourself. And so that makes a big, big difference in the kind of opportunities that you'll get. So that is something that we'll try to help you with, which is how to put your best foot forward and see if you can score those great opportunities.
It's kind of hard, you know, like when you, like, especially for me, I have such a diverse background that I don't know how to market myself anymore, you know, because right now I'm doing this, you know, and I'm like, how do I tell people that it's something new that I'm doing, but I am skilled in all of this stuff? They don't really see that, you know. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to these sessions, really, because I need help.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I do understand it is a little bit harder, or a lot harder even, right? I mean, you know, I know exactly what you mean. I myself came from an embedded systems background, and switching to web was actually very challenging, even though I had an engineering degree. So no question it's harder. It is a good time now, though, and especially if you're younger in your career, the sooner, you know, that's the easiest time to move around, even though it does take a little bit more elbow grease. You do have to find companies that, and I think there's just more and more of them, though, that will look at diverse experiences.
Yeah,
but if
but
you're
I'm
interested,
not,
maybe slack me your LinkedIn. I'd love to take a look at it.
yeah, because I'm not young. I look young, but I'm not young. I'm 35, and this is like my 3rd master's and planning to do my PhD. So I don't know, but I will definitely send you my LinkedIn profile.
I hear what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. I worked with a 35-year-old supply chain manager. You know, she was doing supply chain logistics. She wanted to get into iOS. I tell everybody, I should promise this in the class, but like, I can take anyone who's willing to do the work and who'll give me 2 years. Because I think, Amita, that's the one thing that's the one thing that's, I told her, I told her, and now she's a senior mobile developer, you know.
Wow.
It's definitely possible. It does take a bit of work. And
Yeah, I don't
slack me.
Yeah, I will, but I don't mind, you know, like taking the time to learn the skill and be where I want to be. It's just that I haven't found the right platform, and I'm so happy that I'm here at Codepath because I think I found it finally.
Good.
You know, people are giving the time.
What are you getting your PhD in?
I will hopefully start this fall. I just had my interview like day before yesterday. It's going to be in information systems engineering and management. I'll be focusing more on, you know, like sort of data visualization. It's pretty broad, this major, you know. I can do anything basically, data science or whatever, you know. So it's up to me which route I need to take. So
yeah. I was in a PhD program myself, and I'm curious. Maybe we can dig in later. I'm curious, like, what your goal is, you know, with the PhD, and you know, what if you have a career track in mind after that yet, or you're still kind of exploring.
Yeah, I right now what I'm doing is I actually have this plan of developing an app and a platform for women in particular, who have been through, like domestic violence and abuse and stuff like that. I actually have like a MVP, which I'm gonna be soon deploying. I don't know, sooner or later. So I'm in that mind frame whether I want to be a developer or whether I want to, take the lead of, just take the lead as a founder maybe or whatever, and just do the startup thing. But then I also think about that I don't know about all these smaller components of, like how an app basically works, like the team that you should have, because right now I'm working with just 2 developers and 1 designer, and I don't know if that's enough for me, you know what I mean? So it's like it's a mix, like right now I'm like really confused, overwhelmed, and then thinking as to which step I need to take. So I am learning how to code, but at the same time I'm also thinking about, starting my own thing and working towards that. So by the time I'm through with this route, of learning this developer route, I'm able to, like take that route too at some point in my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and that's a good question. I think it never hurts to go down the developer road a little bit, even as a founder, because it'll really make you a better CEO and founder. And then at a certain point, you'll realize, do I want to continue down the IC track, or I kind of understand it, but like I don't have the time or the interest to achieve the mastery that would be needed to build it, at the speed and the quality that I would want. And then you would decide at that point, okay, now I understand enough. I'm going to now start to contract or hire, developers to do this. But I do think it's that early phase. It
Right.
never hurts to do a little bit yourself. I think it's
Yeah, because I feel like when I talk to these developers and they're using this language in front of me, and I'm like, I'm so dumb that I don't know. I need to educate myself, which is what I'm trying to do right now. So let's see how far I go and how quickly, I walk this path.
Exactly. I mean, I would take like our 6 weeks iOS class or Android class if you're doing mobile, and that already would give you a sense for, okay, so you want blah and blah and blah and blah, so, go and do that. But it'll give you the language of the framework, as well as kind of an understanding of scope and difficulty, and, you'll be able to size things up better. You'll be able to inspect quality better.
Yeah,
So I think it's
yeah.
it's well worth a 6-week to 12-week investment, to reach that level
I
at least.
actually was gonna be doing that program, like the last batch that, just got done, but I had something going on, it was this COVID and other things that I couldn't commit. So that's why I wasn't able to do the initial, like the exam that you guys do, the entry level thing test, which is why I wasn't able to, do that. But I'm hoping to do the next one for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I don't know if anyone is still here, or just AFK, and we're just listening to me, Alex, and me to chat. But thanks for those of you who are here. Thanks for hanging in, and anytime that anyone here wants to chat with me, happy to make time. Happy to kind of listen to your personal, whatever's going on with you personally, and to understand and discuss your goals individually. I'm not the primary instructor. I should have introduced, and I'll be around. But we have an amazing instruction team for you. So yeah, hope to see you around, and I'll very accessible if you have any questions. So